Have you ever had that gut feeling and you just know it in your body that your financial advisor is not the right fit for you? And I hear this frequently from different women as they come to me as prospective clients or as I am out networking and in different situations. They will share with me that they've just had this nagging feeling in their body or in their gut, something telling them that this advisor is not the right fit for them. And if you've ever had this feeling, just know that you are not alone. So today I want to take some time on this episode of the Wealth Cafe and break down a couple different questions you should be asking yourself before you make the switch to a new financial advisor. I know you probably hopped into this thinking, oh, of course she's going to tell us to all switch and to leave and to come join, but I do think it's very important to make sure that you are with the right advisor for you and your situation and that you feel comfortable working with, regardless of if that's myself or a different advisor. And I hope that through this episode, it either reaffirms who you are working with, maybe it raises some questions that have been bubbling under the surface, or you sit here then and say, you know what, it's time to reach out to somebody else. And you can either schedule an intro call with us, or we can send you and hope to connect you with the right person. Now, I want to give you a couple different scenarios to think about before we dive into the questions. Now, by this, I mean, what are some scenarios in which people are frequently questioning their relationship with their advisor? And these are a couple of the common ones that I've heard throughout working with prospects who become clients or that I've seen in different networking groups, certain social scenarios. And so I just want to give a couple of them to you so you also know that you're not alone in this feeling. Now, the first one that really causes people to change advisors is that they are outgrowing their advisor. So you may have started with your advisor when you were younger. Maybe you had just made your first million and you were so excited, and you went to this person who was giving you these different strategies that at the time were a great fit. But as your life has become more complex, maybe you've had children, maybe you've been married, divorced, had a inheritance come into your life, your wealth has really grown, and now this advisor is no longer the right fit for you. It happens. Something that I really prioritize in my practice is making sure that I'm doing continuing education, learning about new strategies, new technology, new platforms to make sure that I am keeping up with my clients and also being able to best serve them in the life situations they are in, especially as I have clients that are moving from those exciting growth years. And then as they start to transition in retirement, those are different strategies that you need. You need to ask then, is your advisor able to best lead you through the current changes you're going through and also some of these future changes that you will be seeing? Another big one that questions people's relationship with their advisor is when you have an advisor that rather than being proactive is being reactive. And I saw this happen a lot during the 2020 pandemic. So March, April of that time when things were really, we had all the question marks, right? No one knew what was happening. And so at the time, I was working for one of the largest banks and had my wealth management practice there. And I would see so many advisors that were not proactively reaching out to their clients. And by this, I mean they weren't calling them with market updates. They weren't sending them different, emails or messages, whatever their preferred communication was, saying, hey, here's what's going on with markets. Here's how we're handling things. How can we also be there for you? One of the biggest value adds that a client and advisor relationship has is being able to help navigate both the exciting times, but also those really difficult, uncertain times. And so many advisors get a little too scared to pick up the phone and reach out to clients, and it can ruin the relationship and leaves a lot of clients sitting here going, where's my advisor? And so if that's you, you are not alone. I've seen it happen in so many different relationships. And part of that is, you need to make sure as a client, you are communicating with the advisor, letting them know when big things are happening in your life so they can also be proactive on their end and say, great, we're having our third child. This is so exciting. Here are the things that we want to make sure we get updated, from estate plans to the beneficiaries on accounts and how things need to get changed, how we're planning financially for this child, college planning. That's a great way for them to be proactive on something you still have to communicate to them. But you want to make sure that you feel comfortable as well talking to your advisor, which leads me into my third point here is that a lot of clients come to me and they say, I just don't feel comfortable reaching out to my advisor. I feel like they're talking down to me or they're just trying to give me all of this lingo and jargon, and I don't know what it means. Now, information is only as good as we can understand it, right? And so if your advisor is just sitting there talking to you, trying to show how smart they are, doesn't really do much. It's great. We want our advisors to be smart, well-informed, proactive people, but we need to also, and you need to understand as the client, what is it that they are doing? And so that is really important. And also, one of the things that I'm going to talk about as we lead into our questions here is make sure if you are looking to switch advisors, make sure you understand what your communication style is that you want from your advisor. And this is something, as we now break down some questions and different things to think about if you're switching advisors, the first one of which is, what is your communication style? I have some clients who are like, please don't ever call me. It makes me think something's wrong. I'd rather just get an email. And if we need to, we can hop on a Zoom or a phone call together. How frequently also do you want communication? Do you want somebody who's providing you market updates? Do you want somebody who's hosting events? Do you want somebody who is constantly reaching out to you and having those different touch points? Or are you sitting here saying, you know what? I've made it really far into my portfolio and my growth. I just want to know that I'm hiring the right person. They're taking care of things on the back end, and that when we meet 1 to 2 times a year or as different, larger, bigger life events happen, that that person is there when I need them. There's no wrong or right answer. You need to figure out what style you prefer, the level of communication, the level of touch points, so that way too, you can communicate it and find the advisor that's going to be the right fit for you. You also want to understand as you are looking for a new advisor or exploring different relationships, is this advisor the right fit for you in what they have in terms of education and also the services they provide? And now by this, I mean, there are some advisors who know nothing about 401ks. There are some advisors who know nothing about stock compensation. These are just examples. You could fill in the blank with anything here. So I want you to take a look at what are the biggest areas of your life. You may be an executive woman who's had a lot of growth in their portfolio and their net worth, and you're sitting here with a couple $1 million saying, I really want to make sure, yes, I'm protecting for the downside, but also building legacy and creating generational wealth. You want to make sure you are working with an advisor that understands and really knows how to help you manage those different life stages and help you plan for another generation. So this might be somebody who has a little bit more education and understanding of estate planning topics. And these are fair questions to ask when you're interviewing an advisor. You also want to understand how this person gets paid. There's a lot of different ways to get paid. I'm going to make an entire separate episode just on this topic because otherwise we could be here for an hour breaking it all down. But you want to understand, is this person getting paid as an assets under management fee where you're paying them month to month? Are you paying them an hourly rate? Are they fee only? Or are you giving them, are they getting a commission on certain products? Is it a combination of any of these? You want to understand how is it that they're getting paid, so then that way too, you can also pick the right situation for you. Some people prefer to pay things that are hourly. Other people prefer that to have that assets under management, so it's not something that they need to continually think about. Another great topic to talk to a potential advisor about is what is their investment philosophy? This is one that I like to proactively talk to prospective clients about and share my opinions on how we are managing different asset classes, right? I look at them all a little differently. And also, how are they going to manage and what is their investment philosophy for your current portfolio? And I say this and add this little tidbit because this might change. Here's why. If you are somebody who is in an accumulation phase, you're still making money, adding to what you already have, their investment philosophy is going to be and should be different for somebody who is pre-retirement versus somebody who is retired. So you want to understand, do they have a philosophy for each of those? And will they be able to help you navigate as your investments need to change for those life changes? The other thing, too, I want you to think about is some advisors just look at investments, right? They sit down and they say, here's your portfolio, here's how we're going to manage things. Thank you and goodbye. There's also people who this is more so how I run my practice, where we are looking at the full financial plan. And by that, I mean investments, they are a big, important part of this conversation, right? That's how we make money and grow your wealth. But are they also looking at things like, do you have any insurance needs? And this could be things like long-term care, disability insurance, life insurance. And are they fitting it in a way that feels good to you and what you truly need? I always make sure I emphasize the word actually need versus just making a sale off of you. Are they looking at your estate planning? This can be a big thing, especially if you want to be doing legacy planning, planning for that next generation. And it can also be something that could have a big impact on your net worth and estate should something happen to you. Are they also helping you plan for your finances for the next generation in terms of things like college planning, how you want to pass money on in either retirement in those golden years, hopefully, or if something were to happen to you today? Now, the last one I also want you to think about is relationships. And there's two parts to this, right? The first part is, are they able to work with other members of your financial team? So for myself, I always like to have a relationship and be working with the accountant, the estate attorney, maybe a tax strategist, if that's somebody they have as well, or a banker, depending on what relationships they have, because there is magic that happens when you bring all of these specialists together. And by specialist, I mean the tax person who just really focuses on tax, the financial person that sees your financial picture, and the estate attorney who knows the ins and outs of estate. When you bring that entire picture together, it's really going to change the relationship. But you want to make sure this advisor is A, willing to work with those people, and B, wants to embrace those relationships to help build something bigger. The other thing too that you can ask is, okay, do you have people that you refer me to if I need a new accountant or if I need a new estate planner? The second part of your relationship is, how do you feel, going back to that gut feeling, how do you feel when you're meeting with that advisor? Do you feel safe? Do you feel trusted? Do you feel comfortable asking questions? And regardless of what the question is, I always tell prospective clients when I'm sitting down with them, my one rule is to always ask me the question, no matter how dumb you think it is, because I've heard it all. And I would also rather you ask me than start going on social media and searching for things. The irony is we're on a podcast, and find information or resources that may not be right for you. I'd rather you just ask me and we can have a conversation about it one-on-one and really dive into what works for you. Couple red flags I want you to be careful as you are hiring potentially a new advisor. A couple little red flags, we'll call them. If the advisor is avoiding talking about their fees, dig into it a little more. Be willing to ask the questions. I know it can feel uncomfortable, but it's your money and you deserve to know. I also love, as an advisor, when prospective clients, if they already are working with an advisor, I love to hear from them what didn't go well with the past advisor. So I can, number one, make sure we're the right fit, right, in terms of communication styles, investment philosophy. And number two, so I can understand, how can we do better, right? How can we improve it? And what matters to you as the potential client? The third thing to also watch out for is, do you want somebody who's just managing your investments, or do you want somebody who's looking at your full financial picture? Be willing to walk away from conversations if you're like, hey, I just need someone to manage my investments. You may not want to pay for or have someone looking at your full financial picture, and vice versa. And it is okay to walk away from the relationships that are not serving you. I know this is a lot of information on this episode, but I wanted to give you some things to really think about, some questions to ask yourself. if you are having that gut feeling, thinking, ooh, is my relationship with my financial advisor working? And it is okay to make a change, even get a second opinion, and have someone look at your finances. If you are having these thoughts and you would like to have a conversation, we have just reopened financial planning and wealth management spots. You can head over to tanisfingroup.com/contact and apply for an introductory call, and we can talk more about this. And I will be asking you so many of these questions during our call so we can get to know each other better and hope to get you to the right advisor, whether it's myself or someone else, to make sure that you feel confident in your financial future. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time on the Wealth Cafe.